Howdy, y'all. It's your boy Stevie. We're going to be reading one of my favorite fan fictions here. A Theory on Godhood, an Overlord story by Connorick3115. This is going to be like a sight reading. Like, I put zero practice or thought into this beyond asking Connorick himself if I could, read the story on YouTube. He finally got back to me after a year or so, which, ow. But hey, here we are. We're finally doing it. I might redo this episode with voices. I might not. There are a lot of fucking characters in Overlord, and there's even more in this one, because if you haven't had time to read what's in front of you already, the entirety of Ainzul Gone, all 41 members, find themselves transported into a whole new world on the last day of Yggdrasil. How will a guild of 41 all-powerful heteromorphs change and influence the events that happened in canon, while also creating an entirely new events to explore? For you, the dear reader, this is a tale best told as a theory. A theory on Godhood. And just let me tell you, they're not fucking wrong. You see, I don't know what it is with Overlord fanfiction, but it has some of the best well-written, anything, just in general. I also wanted to do this for Valkyrie's Shadow, but, they never got back to me on that. At least Connorick did. It took him a year, but he did, or they did. I don't know exactly for sure his gender, so, I might have just fucked myself here. Oh well. Let's get right into it. It started with the throne, Chapter 1. Could have gone any better than this, Momungus thought to himself, reclining back into the chair at the head of the table with an audible crink. All around him, voices clamored in excitement or playful jest, filling the meeting room with a feeling of joy that it did not have for some time. The reason? His entire guild managed to make it for the final day of Yggdrasil. All the mistakes I make will be kept in, just to prove to you all that I'm human. I just fucked up. To his right, he could see Tabulous Merendina conversing with Tempest Aizawa, an air elemental, about the finer points of some old world religion he couldn't be bothered to pay attention to. Every so often he caught words like Odin or Ragnarok as a peripheral mind gasped the meaningless terms to him. On his direct left, he chanced Lucifer and Ariel as they played a game of what seemed to be checkers, to which the corrupted angel was handily losing to the Fey player. As he looked further down the table, he could see Touch Me, the one he least expected to see here today, playfully joking with massive 3-meter-tall white dragon named Canesium. Canesium, that's what I'm going to stick with. If any of you guys want to grammatically correct me, go ahead, but for now I'm sticking with Canesium. At the opposite end, he saw a group of his friends all flipping through a scrapbook, either groaning or laughing as they saw the old memories stored within the tomb. Of those he could make out, he noted the tittering mandibles of an arachne, Genjuro, the grasping tentacles of a mind flayer, small cuttlefish, and the luscious mane of a chimera, Beast King Mekangawa. Norris had their bodies obscured by the first 3 forms, who were all standing up to show off the scrapbook. Some of the chairs remained empty, however, but they were still warm with the avatar's presence who had occupied them not even 15 minutes prior. It was not until Momunga came up on the nameplate of one chair that his virtual heart clenched and he could feel his throat tighten with emotion. Bell River, if you could have made it today, I know Blue Planet would have loved to see you one last time. If only to admonish you for not visiting him more often. Momonga thought ruefully, glancing at said Selenoy. Blue Planet stared off into nothingness with a forlorn expression, not even budging from his spot at the table as the merriment in the air hadn't abated. Once again, Momonga pondered the fate of his other friend and tried to recall everything he knew about Bell River's untimely death. It had actually been a rather freakish accident caused by extraordinarily bad luck and maltreatment of construction equipment. English is hard. As Momonga recollected, an entire crane tower had fallen over in the middle of a workday. Having finished building a new office building for some company he could scarcely remember. It had crushed only a single man, killing him in an instant with absolutely no warning, and no way to stop it in time. Momonga had been reading in the morning news on his phone when he saw the article detailing the obituary of an unknown man who was known only by his internet history and name, that of Bell River on the DMMO RPG Yggdrasil. Momonga hadn't really bothered to finish his coffee that day, or even called in for that matter. As he understood it, Bell River's death had thankfully been painless. He was snapped out of his daydream when he felt an armored gauntlet land on his shoulder, shaking him with a mirth that only youth could betray. He focused over his shoulder to see a heavily armored knight and a floating broadsword, the former trying to somehow tug his mighty bulk out of the chair, his robes rippling like spilled ink over the armrest. The sword orbited him like their own personal moon, bobbing in the air with childish excitement. "Come on, Sensei," the knight said in a boyish tone akin to pouting. "Stop daydreaming and help us find everyone else. I think I saw them going towards the throne room, and we're also trying to stop Hero from leaving." The sword bounced in agreement. "It's true! Hero says he's really tired, and we really don't want to see him go," the sword said abashedly, spinning her around at the slime in question, her own voice conveying her worry. Momonga felt a laugh bubble out of his throat at the young member's antics, reminding him strangely of himself in better days gone past. "Well, we can't have that now, can we? Let's say we try and convince that old silly putty to stay a little while longer, huh?" Momonga asked, standing from the chair with an audible boom that caught every other guildmate's attention. Hero observed the Overlord as he drew closer, the knight and animated sword trailing behind like a pack of puppies. An excuse was already rising to the forefront of his mind. "Come on, man, it's been a really long day, and I want to get some sleep sometime tonight. I can always call you guys tomorrow." Momonga stopped in front of the ancient black slime, leaning down so that he could properly convey his voice. "It's the last day, man. Everybody managed to make it so we could all say goodbye, and we both know you don't actually have our phone numbers." Hero paused to consider that. But I... He started before he heard a thunderous voice echo from behind him. "Momonga is right, little slime. We made the time to come and stay until the end. What is, say, another half an hour before we're all forced off the log forever?" Hero can only stare helplessly at the owner of those words, that of another massive dragon but with scales like that of polished gold, named Nirita. He was adorned in proper business attire, wearing an ivory three-piece suit with a crimson red tie. A spotless monocle rested on his right eye, as a wooden pipe lay burning within his snoot. "Yeah, bro, we'd hate to see you go," called out a slim but powerful werewolf. Her gleaming eyes give off a gleeful light, a hand cocked on her left hip. "So park that slimy posterior back in your chair and enjoy the rest of our party." "So park that slimy posterior back into your chair and enjoy the rest of the party with us in our lair." Fucking rhyming, rapping over here, man. Jesus. "Well, I guess," Hero started on to answer weakly, before a collective groan filled the air and was promptly pelted with random bits of trash. Okay, I'll stay. I swear." I am back. I accidentally clicked the stop recording button instead of the pause. Which sucks. Anyway, where were we? Okay, I'll stay, I swear. You guys are always so mean to me. The slime said this with a warbly but genuine laugh, despite his words, before sliding back down into the plush recliner. By the way, what do you guys want to do for the last 30 minutes? I think I saw some of us heading to the throne room. That's right, said Nubel. The Orphanums. I know what that word's supposed to be, but I also don't. I think that's a misspelling of a type of angel. The golden spiraling rings and pulsing inner light shifting. I guess they got bored of sitting in the conference room. I'm pretty sure I also saw Ulbert going with them. The Ophanum, or whatever that actually is called, is like the biblically realistic angel, you know? The one you don't want to fucking see. Touch Me let out an exasperated sigh. Figures he'd gone slinking off when no one was looking. I just hope he's not planning any more trouble with Wish 3 and Temperance again. A large collection of vines in the rough shape of a man sat to Touch Me's right, away from Canesidium's fiery breath. He wore rich snow-white robes like that of a priest, a solid gold scepter practically being strangled in his floral grip. He let out a scoff. When are those three never not getting into trouble? It's not like they can do anything truly damaging in the last 30 minutes of this accursed game, Punino Mo said, some of his vines gripping the headrest of his chair. That may be true, but we'll never know unless we actually go and find him, shot back Touch Me before resting his head in his hands. Knowing them, they could be blowing up the bass right now. He lifted his head. Plus, I'd like to see if we can go find the others along the way to the throne room. I concur, said Ancient One, the Amin Zu's demonic vomit-green visage crinkling in consternation. His royal purple robes folded in on itself as he stood up, his considerable bulk scraping the sides of the table and his vestigial wings flapping uselessly at the air. Better to do today what can be done tomorrow, metaphorically speaking. Great then, let's going, said Momonga, starting straight for the door. After shoving him open, his guildmates left their respective seats and filled in behind him, engrossed with their own conversations. The guild staff of Ein Zul Gon floated back into his hands from its original position behind Momonga at the head seat. He glimpsed the Pleiades and Sebastian waiting just outside the door, staring straight ahead with the unnerving glossy-eyed dead fish look. They bowed to him and his guildmates as they passed before obediently falling in line behind the main group at the behest of Garnet, the animated knight from earlier. Touch Me managed to squeeze his way through the tight crowd to take his place at Momonga's right side, the two enjoying a comfortable silence for a time as they walked the expansive hall. Touch Me started first. Hey Momonga, I'm really glad you invited us all back here. It's been good seeing everyone again, the insectoid paladin offered, clasping his hands together. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. So far, I've been pretty bad at this, both times. I've had to pause this. I've accidentally clicked the square thing instead of the pause button. Momonga nodded in agreement. For sure, man, I'm really happy to see you again. I'm honestly surprised the missus actually let you come with your responsibilities and daughter and all. Touch Me shrugged, his carapace stretching over bulging pseudo-muscles just below. She knows how much you all mean to me, so when I got your email, she encouraged me to try and reconnect with you all again, even if it was just for one day. Momonga only dipped his head once more before looking ahead to the rapidly approaching ornate doors of the throne room. To think that it was only because of an email that you all decided. Apparently, if the screen goes black, it also stops recording, so I also gotta keep my thumb on my phone. Woo! Technical difficulties for the win! That's just what I like, Yeti. The door was inscribed with the beautiful visage of a radiant angel on the left side, while a snarling dark demon sat upon the right. With a wave of the guild leader's bony hand, they slid open with a deafening creak, before revealing the throne room in all of its splendid glory. The clamoring of his friends quieted as they drank in the sight of their guild's substantial throne room. Towering marble pillars flanked the lengthy walkway, interspaced with the personal flags of each individual member who have ever graced Nazaric's halls. The floor was laden with an expensive and luxurious purple rug leading all the way to the onyx step to the throne of kings itself. Already, other voices and what sounded like the sound of fighting could be heard from up ahead. Suddenly, the ear-splitting roars of a primate and reptilian filled the air. Some of them tensed, fearing that intruders had somehow entered the tomb, before heading to the throne room to see what was going on. Or heading to the throne to see what was going on. They could make out the forms of their other friends as they spread out lazily. They could make out the forms of their other friends as they spread out about the throne room, either lounging lazily on the steps or engaging in other activities. Manga and the others had the duck as a colossal, muscular form sailed over their heads, smashing against the rug with an audible crash. His hairy form was prone for a moment, before gorilla-like arms managed to push him back up into a sit-up position. He rubbed his round, broad head as he glanced back up at the throne, growling already in challenge. "Hey, Yamako! How many does that make between me and Jobro now? Am I in the lead yet?" The beaten hominid asked, slowly getting back to his impressively large feet. "That makes it 4-3, with it being in favor of Jobro," a powerfully dressed figure called, her form obscured by a banana-yellow outfit and wide-brimmed black fedora. Iron crosses weighed her outfit down at the coat ends, clanking each time she shifted and expressed herself with huge hands like baseball mitts. She sat, leaning against an equally robust form wearing a simple crimson kimono. At what could be seen of him, his skin was bone white, taking the appearance of such, with an insectoid, horned head being visible as well. "I'm sorry, Suritan," said the warrior Takamazushi, the kimono wearer. "With the way this fight's been going, I just gotta say that your form absolutely sucks." The bottom of the stairs, a sturdily built Allosaurus threw his wrapped fist up into the air with a victorious battle cry as the Sasquatch groaned. The Saurian pointed a single talon at his opponent, fearsome teeth permanently displayed between his avatar's lips. "Ha! I told you," Jobro howled. "I told you I was stronger and that only 2 others could beat me, and what do? You challenge me like the big dumb ape you are." "So what?" Suritan snarled. "I wouldn't have known unless I tried. And I'm a Sasquatch, you avian asshole. How many times do I have to tell you that?" And already the two were getting into another bout, their hands clamoring for a hold somewhere on the other's body as they pressed against one another, hurling childish insults like stone. Momonga interjects with a slight cough, causing the 4 to whirl around to their previously unknown spectators. If it isn't the big skeleton boss himself, how you been doing, big man?" asked Yamako, standing up from Takamazuchi's side and descending the steps to clasp the spellcaster's forearm. Momonga clasped it in return. "We came to find where you had all gone, actually. I can see you for at least entertained, but where—" Momonga felt his question die in his throat as he scanned the left-hand side of the throne. Already he could hear giggling, not unlike small schoolgirls. They took in some very familiar forms surrounding another in the middle. "Oh god, please don't let these idiots be surrounding who I think that is." Apparently, Tabula had reached that conclusion even faster than Momonga thought. Apparently, Tabula had reached that conclusion even faster than Momonga could complete that desperate thought. He felt the brain-eater barrel past him, his facial tentacles lashing the others in his haste to get to the throne, eliciting cries and haze from slighted guildmates. His tendrils elongated, coiling about the throne like great serpents before ensnaring their prey with their titanic grip. The ones surrounding the forms in the middle let out gasps as they were caught. struggling in vain as they were lifted off the ground and brought before a deathly quiet Tabula. Snickers could be heard from behind Momonga, and he heard a resounding slap as Touch Me face palmed. "What do you think you're doing?" Tabula asked, his tone deadly calm as he stared down the perpetrators. His victims wiggled some more before slumping in defeat. As it stood, Tabula had managed to entangle Peroroncino, Albert, Buku Buku Chugama, somehow, and White Brim. It was Buku Buku. It was Buku Buku Chugama who spoke up first. How long time no see, bro? How you doing?" she asked casually, creating a tendril from her oblex body, leaning her formless head against it in a bored action. "Well met, old friend. You're truly a sight for old eyes," cried Albert, the demonic Baphomet. Baphomet, yeah, I can say the word, I just can't say it. Demonic, cried Albert, the demonic Baphomet, batting his eyelashes and trying to flash Tabula a winning smile. Peroroncino said nothing, merely snapping his fingers and pointing them at the offended cephalopod with a tch-tch sound. His 2 pairs of wings flapped in vain every so often to escape the serpentine grip. White Brim was emoting visible sweating, eyes darting about with a panic expression at each of his friends. Only chuckled some more, slowly shook his head, his beautiful form flashing heavenly light as his angelic wings were crushed against his body. Poor White Brim. "Oh, I'm just touring the tomb, spending time with old friends, catching up, and maybe planning on catching a movie with you guys in the theater later." Tabula responded in a monotone, glaring at each prankster. "Damn it. Oh, I'm just touring the tomb, spending time with old friends, catching up, maybe planning on catching a movie with you guys in the theater later." Tabula responded in a monotone, glaring at each prankster. "That's a wonderful idea. I personally think maybe we could watch an old classic. Maybe we could start with..." Obert shut up as Tabula tightened the tentacle, causing damage numbers to appear over his horned head and his health bar to flash red as it decreased. "But you guys didn't answer my question from earlier, so I'm going to ask once more, slowly this time. What were you doing with Albedo?" Tabula clipped his words, his beak clacking with each syllable. After an awkward, pregnant pause, "We thought it would be funny to mess with Albedo's settings." Buka Buka Chugama said, dropping the casual act and taking on a tone similar to a young girl. "What the hell, Chugama?" Peroroncino cried, throwing his hands up in the air as he gawked at his sister in betrayal. "Why would you tell him that? We haven't even done anything yet." Because he wouldn't let it get close again. Just be thankful we managed to change at least one setting before we got caught. Wait, how'd they manage to get into the NPC settings? Only an administrator, Tabula, or someone with the staff could have done something like that, Momonga pondered as he watched the admittedly amusing scene unfold before him. He felt the hulking presence of Canaisdium just behind him, and his long sinuous neck slithered past his head. He scanned them all with an expression of such pure disappointment that they instinctively turned their head down in shame, being unable to meet the Elder Dragon's eyes. "Which setting did you change you for? It is quite rude to touch that which doesn't belong to you," Canaisdium began, his sonorous voice thrumming so deeply that all present in the throne room felt their virtual bones rattle. Canaisdium brought the rest of his body forward so he could face them in full draconic glory and crossed his muscle arms. "Go ahead and have a look for yourself near the bottom of her backstory and stuff. White Brim grumbled, failing to meet the fire drake's eyes. Tabula unceremoniously let them go, granting them hard landings on their asses, before quickly moving to his beloved NPC and opening her settings. The four pranksters could only solemnly get up and join the crowd behind Momongo, quietly greeting him and falling in line with the others. As Tabula scrolled through each setting and tidbit of Albedo's backstory, he grew more and more confused, clacking his beak as he read through it all. You guys literally changed nothing, except for... Tabula trailed off as he got to the last entry, his eyes narrowing. He glanced up at the guilty four as they look away and whistled, attempting to blend in with their comrades. Really? Out of all the ways to try and prank me, this is the best you can come up with? To be fair, we didn't exactly have a whole lot of time, Obert said. Most of it was spent trying to break into his settings just to be able to do it in the first place. Yeah, but seriously? She's in love with Momonga was your big prank? With the way you guys were acting, I thought you made her a dirty sloth or something. But that was second on our list, but now that you showed up and ruined the fun, now she's way more interesting without the bitch and slut flavor text you had for her. Momonga's stunned silence was enormous. I can't English. Momonga's stunned silence was enough to make his friends roar with laughter at their leader's expense. A few falling to the floor because of the simple humor. He began to sputter as Tabula sighed, pinching the bridge of what would have been his nose, if he had one. Brooke-type joke. Tabula's head snapped up. You know what? Screw it. It's such a minor thing, and it's the last day we'll all be together. So let's stomp out my compulsions and actually leave it as is. At least this way, we all know Momonga's guaranteed to get laid. Tabula's blow to Momonga's ingos rekindled the fires of laughter, with even Touch Me and Kanaizdium letting loose a small smile. As much as their monstrous faces could, anyway. Some guildmates looked on in surprise and wondered at Tabula's sudden change of behavior. On any other day, Tabula would have torn them to pieces until they were all level 1 again. But then they noted that he was right, for it really was the last day, and what would the last day be without a little bit of fun? Eventually, the atmosphere in the throne room relaxed as several of his groupmates began to split off into their own cliques and claim spaces for themselves to talk. It wasn't until then that Momonga noticed a brooding figure leaning against one of the pillars, silently taking everything in. His gaze eventually fell on Momonga, giving the guild leader a small nod of acknowledgement. Momonga began to approach him. Tepes! I was wondering where you had slouched off to. Everything okay? Momonga asked, settling in beside him. The vampire lord shrugged, his pale skin reflecting the dim light, his pitch-black spear-like beak piercing the dark. More or less the same. It got too noisy in the conference room, so I came here to get some peace and quiet. It seems, though, that was an unofficial request to join me to the others, Tepes said, gesturing with his beard towards his fellow guildmates. Damn, I wish I could do that. Momonga entered a frown. Momonga emoted a frown. Yeah, speaking of which, do you happen to know where the others are? The game is closing soon, and I kinda wanted to get a last photo with everybody at the throne room. Grievous is in the library as usual, with Wish and Temperance. I think Dynamite was blowing shit up on the 6th floor with Flat-Footed Nishikenrai. Amana Mahitosu is at his forge making variable talismans some new trinket, and Tigress has been circling your seat for the last 15 minutes, Tepes said, jerking his thumb through the dais. Sure enough, when Momonga glanced over, he noted a bright cherry-red worm constantly slithering about the foot of the throne, slowly edging upwards to the seat itself. Momonga could only let out a light laugh as he bid Tepes farewell and approached the throne of kings. Having fun there, Tigress? Momonga asked with mirth. eyeing the Mongolian deathworm as he slowly ground to a halt at his presence. Tigris swiveled his head around to meet Momonga, his face a gaping circular maw of triangular teeth like a shark's. His avatar could not physically smile in-game, but the emote feature for his smile worked much to the same effect. Hey man, yeah, I'm having a blast, It's been great seeing everybody. But then I decided to encircle your throne for funsies when we came here. Momonga chuckled. And just why do you want to encircle my throne? 'Cause I was bored? So you thought to encircle my throne to what? Pass the time? No, because I was bored. Momonga tapped the floor with the end of the guild sap with exasperation, letting out a dramatic, drawn-out sigh. If we keep going like this, then we're just going to end up talking in circles. Yep, just like how I'm going in circles around your throne, Tigris said, finally detangling himself to orbit Momonga's feet instead. The Overlord let out a faux sigh before using his own emotive smile, gently stepping over his lively guildmate to settle into the coveted chair. As he sat, he allowed the staff of Ein Zulgon to float beside him. Time to get the show on the road, I suppose, Momonga thought. He opened the guild group messenger and sent out a masked text to all his other guildmates not there with him, and the others, before closing it just as quickly. He clapped once, the perfect acoustics of Nazarick amplifying the sound and gathering everyone's attention. In another life, so many pairs of eyes would have wilted him, but now he bore them proudly. My friends, Momonga bellowed, allowing the voice of his avatar's baritone to carry it out. The end is nigh, and I have messaged everyone else to come here for the final countdown. Come, and let us celebrate the life of Yggdrasil. A roaring cheer rang out from his friends, his beloved comrades, as they rushed to him on the throne. They ascended the steps together, jostling and shoving one another playfully as they each took their own spots near the seat of power. Sebas and the other Pleiades, who had waited patiently near the door of the throne room, now dutifully took their places on Momonga's right side, at the foot of the stairs. Albedo stood in her dedicated spot on his right. Albedo stood in her dedicated spot on his right of the Diaz, glancing at Momonga with the default smile that came with NPCs. He allowed himself to sink into the uncomfortable throne before the doors at the opposite end were violently thrown open. The first one through was the steaming, clanking form of an automaton, Rah-Rah Rasputin, dual revolvers glinting on either side of his hips. He was followed closely behind by the proud and noble form of an androsphinx, Coup de Gras, with a frost giant skeleton, Shijuten Suzaku, at his right. Shijuten's hand covered over Coup de Gras' voluminous mane. I can't English, please. Every so often brushing through it. Grievous Sin skulked from behind the three, his mandibles clicking, his forearms slinging with an assortment of different-sized talons on each hand. His bone armor went clack, clack, clack as he marched forward, the worms making up his body beneath the armor shifting and sliding with each ringing step. An assortment of the others whom Tempest has described as well, deep within their conversations as they joined the rest of the guild by the throne. I thought I fucked up, but I didn't. As Momonga looked around, taking in the details of his friends as they smiled and shoved him playfully, a tightness again enveloped his chest, and he could not help but hang his head. He felt a gentle hand touch his shoulder, inviting him to look up. He saw Touch-Me to his direct right, leaning on the throne, to be able to reach him. Everything all right, man? The insectoid asked, his mouth parts tittering in worry. It's nothing. I'm both gladdened but saddened by the events which brought us here today, Momonga admitted. I only wish the circumstances could have been better for us all. This time he felt something fluid seeped into the bony appendages of his left hand before solidifying into an iron grip. Manga looked to his direct left and saw Buku Buku Chugama holding it, also leaning on the throne to reach him. No matter what happens here today, big brother Mamanga, even if we never see or talk to each other again, at least we'll have the memories. She emoted a smile at him to show sincerity her true form could not. I think I can help with that, Hiro butted in, pausing for a moment as he stared off into space. 39 different pings went off as each guild member's general messenger lit up. You mentioned earlier didn't have my phone number. Well, now you do. Text me after this, and I'll make a group chat or something. I retract my statement then, Buku Buku said, with her usual childish tone. Mamanga felt his right hand being taken, and he looked over to see Touch Me grasping it. Regardless, Buku's right. No matter what happens, we'll always have the memories, he said, before he opened the game world timer showing there were 30 seconds left before shutdown. Eventually, everyone else began to follow Touch Me and Buku Buku Chugama's example, taking the hands or appendages or tendrils of those next to him before they were all joined. Peroncino and Albert began to pout. Really? You guys want to hold hands before the end? That's so cliche. Albert tutted, his hourglass-shaped pupils narrowing at the outstretched hand of Ariel. Peroncino inclined his head in agreement. Yeah, it sounds kinda gay to me, before being smacked upside the head by a slimy tendril from his older sister. Just shut up and take our hands, it'll make Mamanga happy. Just shut up and take our hands, it'll make Mamanga happy, Buku Buku Chugama chided. Albert and Peroncino reluctantly joined hands with the others before they all focused their attention on the timer ahead of them. It read 18 seconds left. Glory to Yggdrasil, Mamanga suddenly shouted. Glory to Einzul Gone. Glory to Yggdrasil, the rest of his guild, his family, roared in unison. Glory to Einzul Gone. Ah, damn it, I'm gonna miss playing with you idiots. Benito Mo muttered as the timer continued to kick down. Chuckles followed his statement. The moment the timer reached 10 seconds, Garnet's voice rang out. 10. He simply said. 9, Brinsinger answered. 8, Lucifer replied. 7, Hiro 7, Hiro called. 6, Joe Bro proclaimed. 5, Dynamite responded. 4, Narita thundered. 3, Grievous Sin mumbled. 2, Beast King Mekangawa rumbled. 1, Mamanga finished as the light of the throne began to dim and the clock struck 0. Darkness engulfed their collective visions, and soon they were greeted only by the void. Excuse me again. The clock beeped before counting upwards with a slow, methodical tick. Mamanga would have blinked, for the light which had so casually diminished previously now came back in full force. He observed the others still surrounding him, all joined by their hands or what could pass for such, as confusion spread through them. Did the shutdown get pushed? Genjiro started to speak before cutting off an alarm of the somewhat raspy, high-pitched whisper coming from his fate. He felt for his throat, exclaiming, What the hell? The others, startled at hearing the voice, whirled about as they looked for the owner. Who said that? Albert demanded, his eyes bulging as he heard his own voice. A sonorous, high-class baritone. Why does everyone get to be baritone? I can't baritone. It's me, guys. Do you not recognize me? Genjiro asked, realization dawning on his face as he felt at his throat. Not when you sound like you haven't spoken in 50 years, Peroncino retorted, his own voice a commanding and trill sound. Did the devs release a new update? Is this some sort of Yggdrasil 2 that the others used to theorize about? Are we stuck in a glitch? The fuck is happening? Manga pondered, before his own voice spilled out. Did you guys buy a new voice pack before the end? Genjiro shook his head vigorously. Never. I thought they were way too expensive, even though they were kind of cool. He trailed off. His new quiet voice now leaving behind a deafening silence. Guys? The voice of Bring Singer called out. Can anyone call a GM? I can't open my menu. The sound of ruffling came as many different limbs tried various gestures to open the main menu, with no results. Cries of the fucking, hey, what gives? Oh shits, and where's the logout button? And why is it broken? Began to fill the room, before being silenced by a new voice, radiant and beautiful with every punctuation. Is something wrong, my lords and ladies? The entirety of the guild practically jumped out of their skin at the newcomer before seeing who spoke. All 40 of them could only drink in the appearance of the lovely Albedo, her hip wings fluttering in anxiety, her pearl-white dress swishing with each delicate movement she made. The demure face was now scrunched with worry as she took in the expressions of the suitably frightened guildmates. Did that NPC just talk? Temperance asked, his voice an incredulous whisper. Albedo looked to him in alarm before bowing her head. My apologies, Lord Temperance. For speaking out of turn, I was simply concerned by your distress. Have I offended you all in some way? She lifted her gaze until it was fixated on Momonga, and he realized that she was waiting for his answer specifically. No, it's nothing. Truly, Momonga trailed off as he endeavored in vain to come up with a suitable explanation for how an NPC was talking to them right now. The GM call function doesn't seem to be working. Her head tilted in confusion. I apologize, Lord Momonga. I do not understand your request. Can you clarify it for me? She stopped as her creator, Tabula, strode forward, stopping just a step away from the exquisite beauty. His webbed fingers reached up to grasp her face, stuttering as he couldn't decide whether to touch her or not. He settled for placing his fingers gently upon her neck, his eyes widening as he could comprehend what he was touching. You're warm, Tabula said, completely breathless. I can touch you. I can actually feel... You're breathing. You have a pulse. You're alive. Albedo's face broke out into a glowing smile, taking in her creator's words with a hint of haughty pride. She courtesied slightly, saying, I am as you made me, my lord creator. Words cannot express just how happy I am to see you again. I thought you were lost to me forever. Tabula was stunned into silence before a new voice broke it once more. Forgive me for interrupting the moment, my lords, but I realize that we've yet to answer your questions. How may we assist you? It was Touch Me this time who broke away from the awed crowd before he stood in front of the new speaker, Sebas, the Iron Butler. He stared incredulously. Sebas looked at his creator in his multifaceted eye and smiled. It is good to see you again, Lord Touch Me. I must admit, I had begun to lose all hope of ever seeing you back in the tomb. But it seems you have decided to reward me for my faith. Touch Me turned away from Sebas without a word, looking instead to the Pleiades right beside him. They all had their own smiles as they saw the reunion between creator and created, but it was the fact that they were all actually aware that amazed the paladin most of all. This is a dream. This is a hallucinogenic dream caused by overworking, Touch Me said with a hollow laugh, before looking at Hero specifically. Maybe you were on to something, man. I guess we really needed that sleep. I assure you, my Lord Creator, this is no dream, as far as I'm aware. Have we offended you all somehow? Sebas asked, a touch of hurt and regret entering his eyes. Touch Me quickly returned his attention to the head butler, his carapaced hand landing on his creation's shoulder as he shook his head vigorously. No, of course not. This has nothing to do with you guys, as weird as this is. It's just... Oh God, what am I gonna tell my wife? A pretty redhead piped up from the line of maids, a giggling gasp tracing her words. Lord Touch Me found a wife? How marvelous! Tell us where she is and we'll retrieve her for you so you can quickly explain the whole thing. She's real lucky at snatching the attention of a supreme being. Supreme what? Touch Me could only sputter at the absurdity of his situation before Whitebrim, the Solar's melodic voice, spoke up. Lucy, for the love of God, please tell me this is one of your pranks. Did you mess with the game's AI and timer somehow? He turned to his fellow angel, hoping that was the answer. But the corrupted angel could only shake his head. No way, man, he replied in a voice smooth as silk. I wouldn't even know how to do something like this. Saratan muscled his way past his comrade to address the maids directly. He made an X with his arms as he spoke. Okay, time out. Did we somehow end up inside of Yggdrasil? How the hell did that happen? That can't be it, King Mekangala pondered. If this was Yggdrasil, I'd still have my menu. After a brief pause, he clicked his lion-like tongue, his lion-like nose, and grimaced. Plus, this whole time, I could actually taste the air, and let me tell you, it tastes rank. Perhaps we are no longer in Yggdrasil, old friend, offered Ancient One, stroking one of his many chins with an ebony talon, a calculating look in his eyes. Since the time of Reach Zero, we've seemingly been able to truly experience all of our senses, including, in your case, taste. Nothing about the old game even suggested that was such a thing as possible. Wait, said Jobro. So if all our senses aren't lying to us and we can actually feel things now. He turned to the nearest guild mate, that being Amada Hitotsu, and promptly punched him in the shoulder of his large claw. There was a resounding crack as his fist met the crab's chitin. Amada Hitotsu let out a yelp, but it was Jobro who yelled as he cradled his injured hand. What the hell, dude? Jobro groaned. What's your shell made of? Dear God! Amada Hitotsu gingerly rubbed the joint between his main body and large claw. You're telling me, man, you hit like a damn truck. And hitting you was like hitting a damn truck. There was a sharp yip noise as everyone turned to see small cuttlefish holding one of Ankoro Mochi's breasts. The werewolf queen was staring at the mind flayer in affronted surprise. To herself was staring at her hand in shock. Cuttlefish? Why are you holding my boob? The scout player asked uncertainly. Went the chameleon player before answering. Just checking if there's an R Rule 18 ban still. Yggdrasil shouldn't have let me do this. The affronted look on the werewolf's face was replaced by a contemplative one before she in turn grabbed a handful of the mind flayer's assets. You're right. There was a wet slap noise and the surprised chirp of Parentino, who was looking at his sister in surprise. That's what you hit me for. You had that look in your eyes, dumbass, Buku said accusingly. What look? He asked indignantly. You were leering like a pervert, so what? That's hot! He gestured to the werewolf and mind flayer. You're already getting ideas, I can tell. I'm not. You are too. I'm not. R2. Okay. Dynamite chirped, choosing to put her 2 cents in at the moment. As funny as watching you guys fight is, we should focus on a bigger problem, like... Where are we? Tempest Aizawa scoffed at her seemingly obvious question. We're in the Tomb of Nazarick, dumbass. What in the hell do you mean, where even are we? She said, trying to imitate Dynamite's own high-pitched voice. I know we're in the tomb, jerk. What I mean is, where exactly is the tomb? The implications of her question set everyone on edge. Before Sebas was able to clear his throat to get their attention, all eyes in the throne room turned to him expectantly. The butler made no indication that such attention even fazed him as he spoke. Excuse me. If you would like, my lords and ladies, Sebas said, I can assemble a scouting party of some low-level minions, or even myself, to scout the surrounding area. I'll be able to have an answer to at least that question within the hour. If I do not, I'll gladly offer my head as recompense. It was then that the guild focused their attention on Momongo, who had not even moved, and constantly had a small green aura shrouding his skeletal form, his jaw hanging open all the while. He managed to close it when he noticed that his friends were looking at him. An excellent idea, Sebas. Go and take whatever you need. Make sure you try and be back quickly so we can plan our next move. Sebas bowed. As you command, my lord, he said, turning briskly on his heels and heading towards the throne room doors. The maids followed behind him, but where they had been more robotic in the past, now walked with a more relaxed and organic air. The only noise from then on was the opening and closing of those titanic doors. Cuttlefish, you can let go now, muttered Ankaro. Oh, sorry. She apologized, doing so. Silence permeated the air before Albedo chose to move past her creator and kneel specifically before Momonga, giving the Overlord a rather impressive eyeful of her assets, so to speak. And how might I be of service, my love? You've yet to give me any orders, and nothing would please me more than to be able to serve you, she said, a more dominant and lustful look gleaming in her eyes as the other guildmates stared in a strange mix of wonderment and horror. Momonga could only stiffen in his seat, his skeletal features somehow conveying that he looked like he was about to have a heart attack. Tabula's right eye twitched. I'm sorry, Albedo, but I don't think I heard you right. What did you just call Momonga right now? Albedo barely even glanced at her creator, her attention solely focused on the skeleton in front of her. I'm just giving Lord Momonga the attention and love he so rightfully deserves. Even before Lady Buku Buku Chugama, Lord Albert, Lord Perugino, and Lord Whitebrim opened my eyes to my true feelings, it's still my duty to make sure the Lord of Nazareth itself is well taken care of. I take it that you approve. Tabula's left eye twitched this time, and an absolute aura of menace emanated from him, causing some of his guildmates to wither. I can guess which for. Poor bastard's not gonna live the first day of getting fucking TP'd, man. Of course! Why wouldn't I? After all, I told those four I didn't care. Right, guys? Albedo either didn't notice or didn't care for her creator's wrath, instead remaining kneeling before Momonga and waiting his word. It was at that moment a loud growl pierced the tense atmosphere as Ankuro Mochi's hands flew to her stomach, a light blush covering her candid features. Damn. With everything that's been going on in the last few minutes, I just realized I'm starving, the she-wolf whined. Some of the others beginning to murmur in agreement. Momonga was able to tear his eyes away from Albedo, the light green aura shimmering above his form once more. Ankuro's right, Albedo. That's my first order to you today. Could you have some meals prepared for us in the dining room? I'm sure some good food will help us process these events and think ahead for the foreseeable future. The Guardian Overseer could only nod vigorously, a wide smile adorning her beautiful face. Of course, my love. Always so thoughtful and considerate, your wish is my command. She quickly stood, brushing past the simmering Tabula. The crowd of guildmates parted before her like the Red Sea, as she left the hall towards what was most likely the kitchens. The clacking of her shoes gradually faded before stopping altogether. Whitebrim could only let out a warbled sigh of relief, only to then had a tentacle wrap around his throat before he was thrown against one of the pillars with the force of a cannonball. He let out a gaspless oomph, only just barely being able to look up and see his partners in crimes as he received much the same treatment. His ears rang, and he could only just hear someone telling Tabula to cool it. He was let go, left grasping for air at the very real sensation of his windpipe being crushed had thankfully abated. He nearly vomited on the spot, not noticing that Parancino had been unable to have such reservations. Momonga finally stood up from the throne, watching a back of Tabula exited the same hall, the door slamming shut with a blasting boom. He let out a sigh. Please get back, Sebas. If we don't have something to focus on, then we may just end up tearing each other a new one. Damn it, why does being a guild leader have to be so hard? Momonga coughed, trying to get the remaining guildmates' attentions. They very reluctantly tore their ways away from the door and Tabula's victims, waiting to hear the Overlord's pronouncement. Momonga felt the strange aura come over again when his trepidation began to swell within his chest. So, who's hungry? And that'll do it. That's episode 1. I'd say let me know if you liked it, but no one's gonna watch this. Yeah, I already know. No one's gonna listen to these. No one's gonna listen. But hey, I had fun. I had fun reading it. That's all that matters. Alright, and Stevie, peacing out. Bye.